One. Shout out to brand new neighbor, Harbor Coffee. They're absolutely fueling today's episode. Making a little zip before we get started. Do it. Alrighty. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, my Richies, and welcome back to another episode of the Make Life Rich Movement podcast. My name is Sara. I'm your host. And in today's episode, I'm going to help you plan your first event. Now, today's episode is going to be all about how you can go step by step and organize an event or a monthly meetup. Really, the frequency is up to you, but there's been such a beautiful resurgence, it feels like, in the last year or so, where community events and clubs and groups and meetups are really on fire these days. Myself have attended, 5 different meeting groups over the winter, and a couple of them are going to be year-round events. So I'm very excited that I'll still be able to attend those. I myself have started an event that I co-host with my friend Abby. And then just the really cool one-off events that have been happening in my town, specifically in the county where I live, have really inspired me to write this episode. And I wanted to give everyone listening that's ever thought about hosting an event literally no more questions or blockages around this, because I'm going to make it so simple for you. You could literally launch an event by today and start promoting it in order to get your group together. Regular community events are something that does take a little bit of effort to get together, but my goodness, once you get them off and running and you have actual people coming to meet with you at your event, it is worth every second of putting it together. And oftentimes you'll find that once you start an event of your own, it's going to inspire someone that attended to create an event that you can then go to in support of what they're doing and their efforts and their purpose. It's just a really cyclical, beautiful way that you can bring your community alive. And I hope that this episode is going to embolden you to not only want to do that for yourself, but maybe to join forces with others and to create multiple events, whether they're weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly. But get together, get out there, get with our community members, get to know your neighbors and your friends, and realize how much more we have in common than we have apart. So when we are looking to kind of create an event of sorts, we want to start by defining your event's purpose. And not only the purpose, but who is this target audience that you think would be really into this event. Now, a successful monthly meetup kind of starts with a very, I'll say, crystal clear vision about who you're serving and what specific value you are providing to kind of create this sustainable, well-attended gathering that will happen at whatever frequency you choose. And I think there's a lot of beauty in it being just a simple event, but there is a little bit of nuance in the titling and the niching of your event that can help it to be a little bit more successful. I will give an example of my group that I started recently. I'd been on a couple of beautiful walks with a friend, and I just really enjoyed our conversations together. And I realized how much I was longing for true, real, non-fluff, no weather conversations from other people that are going through things and learning and just want to share their experience and what they're going through. So I created the Sacred Steps Walking Club. This was just out of sheer desire to meet up with people and hear about what they're going through and give them words of encouragement, and for me to be able to share and them to do the same. We had our first meet in May. It was a spring kickoff event, but we will be doing it year round. And we met at this really beautiful nature preserve located in Cape May. It was actually a state park. And the conversations were beautiful. The time spent together was great. It was really invigorating, super peaceful, went by very quickly, got in some good steps, and everyone was just really excited to move forward for the next month, which happens to be tomorrow at the time of me recording this. And, you know, it is a walking club, and you do talk while you walk typically, but in identifying that unique angle and kind of niching down the focus of the types of people I was looking to have attend, aka people that want to get deep, they want to talk about real stuff. They want this walking hour to be a sacred time for them to really get some work done with others that are in a similar place of also wanting to get work done during their walk. Personal work, spiritual work, soul work. giving like, rather than trying to just reach out to everybody and appeal to everybody, and me niching down in this way, it not only provided for a really clear understanding that this, if you come to walk with us, if you're either listening and learning, or you're diving in the conversation and you're sharing, and we're getting deep and we're going to talk about real stuff. And it definitely gives, I'll say this, specificity attracts the right people way more effectively than kind of broad general concepts, which is a duh, right? But scarcity can kind of come into play when you're planning an event and you want it to be successful. So you think the bigger you cast out your net, the more fish are going to grab. And that might not always be the case. You might need a special net with smaller holes that's going to have this be a little bit easier of a bringing in. Now, one thing that was really important in the beginning of not only planning this event, but any other event that you're going to plan is doing your research on what other events are happening in the area, and just see that first, there's not going to be a time conflict. If there's already an event existing with the time slot that you were looking to go for, don't be a you know what and pick a different time, pick a different date. It was really good for me to have checked and done that because I originally just thought, oh, I'll just make it the first Wednesday of every month. It's easy to remember. But in my friend Abby doing some research about what was happening in the area, she was like, that other event we do is on Wednesdays. Why don't we just pick a totally different day altogether? Thursdays work for both of our schedules. So we chose Thursdays at 9 a.m. But it is really important that you research existing events and not only look for the gap in which you could provide your event to fill, but just being mindful and cognizant of what events are already out there. And you may want to attend some of these events to be able to promote your event and your group and what you're doing so that you can bring some people over there as well, and vice versa. Now, when you're creating a clear value proposition for your attendees, because you want them to know what they're coming for and you want them to know what they're leaving with, you have to be able to articulate that in one or two sentences of what they're going to gain from attending your events and why they want to come regularly, right? If that's something that matters to you, frequency, because it will be something you're going to be doing frequently. And what you might want to be trying to articulate to them could be learning new skills. Are they going to be making professional connections? Is this going to be a fun experience? Are they looking for a like-minded community? Is this going to be more of like a lunch and learn scenario? This kind of clarity with your marketing is going to help ensure that you're delivering not only consistent value for them in the decision-making process, but it's going to keep people coming back again and again because they're going to have the clarity to be able to share what it is that they went to and attended, that they're going to go to again, that they want you, the new person they're telling this about, to come be a part of. So make it as easy as possible for them to share. You're going to have more people attending. Now, in planning an event, there are absolutely a couple of obstacles you're going to have to overcome. And the first are the mental barriers and just kind of building confidence around being a host. Most people who create events, never start, or, the people that are just mulling it over, they never really kick it into gear and actually do it because of their internal fears and their limiting beliefs about their qualifications, their worthiness, or their ability to handle the responsibility of hosting an event and being, responsible for all of those people enjoying a good time. This was something I got over really quickly early on in my career as being a publicist because I was attending events 7 days a week, and most of the time I was working them. And if I wasn't working them, I was networking them. And that meant that I was also needing to feel and be very comfortable so that I could leave a good impression with the people that I was meeting. But if you can address your imposter syndrome almost immediately and get rid of that question of who am I to lead and kind of turn it into like, who am I and what am I going to lead with? Because you are someone special. You have an idea inside of you that you want to get out there, which means it's important to you. And if it's important to you, it's bound to be important to other people that are like you. Now, recognize that expertise isn't always required when planning events or groups or meetups, especially if they're just erring on the side of casualness and not business related or related to something like addiction or, some kind of recovery group. You don't need to be an expert to facilitate a great gathering, just the way in which you don't need to be an expert to be a good friend. Enthusiasm, great organization skills to just make sure that what you're providing is well planned out and everyone understands and they're getting there and things make sense for what they're doing. Kind of just genuine care for people's experience and wanting them to have a good time and being jovial and being kind and trying your very best to remember their name and learn things about them and remember it. So the next time they come, they feel seen. It's like, that song, you want that to be your event for them, right? So you have to remember their name. Also, you don't have to be the most knowledgeable person in the room. Sometimes just bringing people together is just being understood as the person that understands connections and who's going to be a great fit for who and what and where and when. If that's a business thing that you're doing and it matters in that regard. But if you're just gathering and bringing people together, guess what? People are just so grateful that you took the initiative and the time and the energy to put something together to where people can come and join in, have conversation, and get to know each other a little bit better. Now, a really big thing that keeps people from wanting to throw events or at least enjoy the planning process is being afraid of low attendance and being afraid of event failure. Now, I've hosted hundreds of events and worked hundreds of events for my clients. And over the, we'll say, 18 years of doing those things and the 15 years professionally of doing those things, I've had some stinkers, right? Some failure, some in the reds for events, right? And it's cliche and it's going to be annoying to hear. And it was super annoying to go through, but it was necessary. It was. It was so necessary. I learned so much from those failures. And although I wish I could have learned them from a YouTube video instead of from the shame and just the money, energy, time that I felt I had wasted, it was not wasted because that one failed event in the red led to me never making certain decisions or choices again. And it just further chiseled every event from that moment forward from a place of, well, we know not what to do now. So let's try and F around and do some other stuff moving forward and see where that gets us. And that was really big for me. So, gosh, one, you need to start with some realistic expectations. You have to be realistic rather than perfectionist. Would it be wonderful to have 150 people show up for your event? Yeah. Would it be logistical for you to be able to handle 150 people at your first event, especially if you've never done one before? No, not at all. Grow slow and low. Have realistic expectations. You want to work up to those big, gigantic, beautiful events you see on Instagram and you dream about hosting yourself. I think it's really important too to focus on creating quality experiences for whoever shows up rather than measuring the success purely by the numbers. And let me tell you, 5 happy people at an event rather than a picture full of 50 that never talk about it to anybody else ever again. I'll take the 5 that enjoyed themselves so much that they tell their coworkers, girlfriend, sister, and sister-in-law all before 12 p.m. the next day because they just had such a good time. And it was such a different thing than they'd ever interacted with or done before. Another favor you can give yourself is building systems that are going to reduce your overwhelm and decision-making fatigue. I'm talking about templates, checklists, standard procedures, and these are things that may change event to event in the first couple of months or the frequency that you choose. And over time, you're going to lock down what feels like your concrete system. And from there, you're just replicating from that concrete system rather than reinventing the wheel every time. We do want to work smarter, not harder, especially when it's for something fun like a book club or a cookie exchange group. And what are we talking about when we're talking about systems, right? This could include things like your venue and booking the process, or just being like, hey, we're coming into your coffee shop on this Tuesday of every month. And everyone's going to buy something and get a snack, but we're going to be sitting here for 2 or 3 hours while we talk about our book. Even that level, right? What are your promotional schedules? How frequently do you need to start promoting before the event itself? Do you have a supply list? Are there things that you need to bring? Are there any kind of printouts? Are you buying any little tchotchkes or something they're going to need for the event? And then the event flow structure. How do you wish for the actual event to go from arrival until departure? Having these systems is absolutely going to reduce the mental load, and it's going to make hosting feel a lot more manageable for long term, which is what you want when you are thinking about creating a meetup event, especially one that's going to meet monthly. You want to make this something that's easy to do and fills up your cup rather than emptying it, right? So the next thing to think about is logistics and planning that actually works. Now, the difference between an event that runs smoothly and those that feel chaotic kind of lies really thoughtfully in advanced planning and attention to practical details that affect attendee experience in ways that you may think you can slough off in the beginning when things get stressful and you're like, crap, I didn't allot enough time for me to properly plan for this, and now I'm running into issues. The first thing that you want to think about in regards to the experience of those attending is the venue, the vibe, the size, the location. What's the parking like? What's the food like? Consider these kind of factors just out of the box of what you normally would. You have to get creative and you have to think outside of yourself. You may not be a person that rides public trans, but is it next to or near public transit access? What are the noise levels? Is it too loud for a speaker series, but not too loud for, a cookie exchange? What's the Wi-Fi quality like? This is a big one. You really need to worry about the Wi-Fi. If not, you better have a really good hotspot situation on your phone. Do you need kitchen facilities? And if so, what are they like? What do they provide? What do you need to bring? And ultimately, does the space feel welcoming to your guests for the purpose that you intend it for? I think a lot of successful events rotate between 2 to 3 regular venues, and they provide some variety while also just giving the guests the familiar understanding of what a particular event's going to be like. This month here it's this, next month there it's that. And over time, that reliability builds trust. Like no factor goes through the roof. They start telling people about your event, and lo and behold, you have more and more people attending every time you host it. Now, creating a consistent schedule, a lot to think about, right? Because you can feel as though you'd like it to be like, oh, let's do it the third Thursday of every month, or I'm going to do it every Wednesday. But I want you to really ask yourself and then sit on it for a few days and then ask yourself again the frequency within which you want to do what you're doing. Let me tell you something. Take this bit of advice for anything you do, whether it's hosting a podcast or writing a blog or, teaching a gymnastics class, whatever it is. You may think that you've got the bandwidth to do it X amount of number a week. Like for the podcast, I do 3 episodes a week. Very manageable when I'm in a great headspace. Very manageable guest wise when holidays and travel and things happening in the world don't keep people from being able to schedule and be a guest. Had tons of pivots here on the show. And it might be because I set myself up here for just a teensy bit of pivoting to need to happen because I said that I was going to have 3 episodes a week. And I'm sticking to it and I love it and I enjoy it. And I know that some weeks, those weeks are delayed, but you get the episodes. They come out late, albeit, but they're out. But I really want you to consider and think about that. And then not only that, think about the way in which you communicate it with your guests so it's easier for them to remember. So picking a specific day and time each month, like first Thursdays at 7 p.m., so people can plan ahead and also build that attendance into their routine. You want to establish communication timelines, like save the date 6 weeks out if you're doing only one event, or detailed invitations or something 3 weeks out, and then reminder messages 3 days before. Consistency builds trust and habit formation in your guests and your attendees, and it just requires just a little bit of planning ahead on your part to be able to ensure that they can do their part by not only remembering but building it into their schedule. How do we manage RSVPs? There's so many different apps out there. Managing your RSVPs and the no-shows, realistically, expect 60 to 70% of your attendance for confirmed RSVPs for casual events. I would imagine that you need to plan your refreshments and your seating accordingly if that's a scenario in which you have in front of you. Plan 60 to 70, but have enough on hand for everyone to have shown up. I was told by a really beautiful hostess a long time ago that a proper host or hostess always has enough for 5 more. And I just live by that. I love that. I'm always a more to the party kind of gal rather than like worrying that I'm going to have low attendance. I kind of always worry on the side of like, oh no, we're going to have too many people. And being able to have backup activities in case fewer people attend to show up than expected is great. You can fill out what you're doing. Just always be ready to pivot. That is the art of being a good host, being ready to pivot. I think there's also a lot to be said for what's the intent of your event. Now, when we're creating engaging experiences that we want people to enjoy, me personally, I have to have the building of the community be at the forefront. And great monthly events just go beyond putting people in the same room. There needs to be active facilitations of connections and learning and experiences and exchanges that make people feel excited to return for the next one, right? You want to go out of your way to design inclusive activities that are going to work for extroverts and introverts. And I say that as someone that, depending on the day, is both neither one or the other. My husband's an introvert. And being able to attend an event where someone kind of thought about that and gives you all of the opportunities to hide in this corner or be seen over here in that corner are great. You also want to go about balancing large group discussions with smaller breakout conversations if that's something you find yourself leaning in towards. And we always want to include both structured activities and free networking time, as well as provide multiple ways for people to be participating comfortably. Consider name tags, conversation starters, rotating partner introductions, comfortable seating for all kinds of individuals. Maybe for your older guests, they need some higher seats, easier to get up from. Maybe you want to make sure that you have accessibility for people in wheelchairs or in chairs of assistance, that they need to be able to get into the building and into the room you're hosting in easily. Things like that. How can you make people comfortable? How can you make them feel engaged, excited, curious? Can do some of those things. We also want to worry about building in regular features while we alternate the format, because we want to have at least one thing from the beginning that we're carrying through. It's not only going to help to establish some consistent elements that people can expect event to event, like opening introductions or closing announcements, while changing up the main content to kind of keep things fresh. And although this might mean alternating between guest speakers or points of focus or hands-on workshops or group discussions or social activities across different months, you do need to have something that keeps it feeling uniform from event to event. If you're an individual that is hosting a networking event and every month seems to be different, there's a group of women down here that I adore, Liz and Tori. They have Co-Collective, and they put together some really beautiful networking events over the last year here since they've launched. And carried through each event was a little gift bag, as well as a printout of everyone who had RSVP'd, along with their contact information, a little bit about what they did. So all you had to worry about was getting there and having some conversation. You're going to leave with the information you need, and it was just genius. I loved receiving them at every event. I thought it was such an incredible idea that anybody can very easily do and add to their type of event. I think another thing that is really important about having an event that the guests not only experience but want to experience over and over again is encouraging your attendees' participation and giving them a little bit of ownership over the community you're working to build. When inviting community members to suggest topics, we want to allow people the opportunity to volunteer. Maybe it's for setup or cleanup, or maybe they have an idea about a talking point they'd like to do, or maybe they have some expertise they'd love to share in a free lesson or a workshop. Maybe they love chit chat and they want to help with promotion for the event. When people within your community of your event are contributing to the event's success, they are going to become way more invested in its continuation and are going to help in a way to be a bit of lifeline injected into not only creating a welcoming atmosphere that's attracting new members, but it's going to be enriching and just furthering the value of the community and the network and the event that you're building. It's a win-win. Finally, I want to talk about growing this event into a sustainable long-term event. How do we go about doing that? We want to build a thriving monthly, weekly, whatever the duration is event. And it's going to require you balancing growth with sustainability, slow and low, like eggs. We want to take it slow and low. Also, while developing systems that are going to help you evolve with your community while preventing host burnout. That's the key right there. There's a lot to balance. Now, when we're looking to develop a sustainable promotion and outreach strategy, there are a couple of things that I like to do as a publicist, certainly. One, creating a multi-challenge approach using social media, email lists, community boards, printouts within coffee shops, gyms, and word-of-mouth referrals, rather than relying on any single method, namely a reel or a story. I also have partnered in the past with complementary organizations, local businesses. I've added on other event hosts for cross promotion, and all while tracking what efforts are bringing in the best attendees and not just the most people. I want to worry a little bit about marketing here and not just body count. I also would encourage you to consider building a core team and starting leadership responsibilities and sharing those with volunteers and people that want to build within your community. You can do this by kind of identifying regular attendees who could help with specific aspects like social media, venue coordination, speaker outreach, or newcomer welcoming. You can also give them the option of sharing ownership for your preventative measures against burnout, because while you're helping to develop other skills and deepening their investment in the community's success, you get to take a moment to sit back and enjoy a little bit about what you've built and continue on and figure out where it needs to go next. And again, we want to go beyond just the numbers to measure our event success. Certainly, a publicist like myself is going to really love tracking those qualitative metrics like repeat of attendees, what those rates are, new member connections that are formed, positive feedback received, was there any community impact created? You may want to consider periodic surveys as well, asking your regular attendees what they value most and what you can improve on. And I think doing this from day one is super important. There's also the not only means of creating long term connection and value within that community that goes beyond the head count, but it really does lend well to long term success if your attendees are enjoying it so much that they continue attending. I hope this has been helpful, my Richies. I really am so excited to hear what events and groups and meetups you are going to create. I myself have a few cooking for the end of summer and fall, in addition to my Sacred Steps Walking Club on the first Thursday of every month, which I have tomorrow. I hope you enjoy every second of your event planning. If you have any questions, as always, please feel free to DM me either on Instagram or you can email me, and that is in the show notes. I hope you have a wonderful day, my Richies. And as always, make life rich.